Unfortunately, as a lot of Americans debate whether or not the tragic loss of an American citizen in Minnesota just the other day is possibly a murder or was it self-defense, at the end of the day, it is a homicide. We just don't know if it's chargeable. A lot of us are armchair lawyers, armchair quarterbacks. I'm not a lawyer, although I used to teach at a law school. Most of the folks watching this are probably not lawyers, or if you are a lawyer, you probably definitely don't have the direct evidence in this case. I don't want you to lose the forest for the trees. Urban chaos and global triggers easily can become synonymous and can become the same thing within hours, within moments. If you're a prepper, if you're a second a enthusiast, even if you're just like a tree hugger and you just want to make sure your family's protected, there are things that you need to be thinking about doing and on notice for. And don't completely go down a rabbit hole of political jerseys by putting yours on and just focusing on that singular event. Both Minnesota and Iran show that normalcy can dissolve. It can go away literally within a matter of 4 hours. It can go away very, very quickly. Protests can transition from peaceful gatherings to full-scale kinetic environments very fast. Look at what's going on within Iran. Estimates of millions of people currently protesting the Ayatollah in Minneapolis. It went from people holding vigils to now possibly trying to break into federal buildings, allegedly. And you need to be thinking about a plan when it comes to you and your family. Bugging out, in my opinion, is not the plan right now. That's not what I think you should be prepping for. The very first plan you should be really thinking about is a sustainable, suitable bug-in scenario. Think about how you're going to keep you and your family safe, or you individually safe, if you need to stay staged in an area for an extended amount of time. Plan for at least 3 days. I have a survival kit behind me. You can't really see it, from Pelican, that I just picked up. Can sustain a family of 4 for up to 72 hours. There's a lot of kits that are pre-made that you can get. I've done a lot on this channel. I'll link those up. I have like a little prep kit, that like survival kits that you can use inside your house. I'll link that up for you. But also, as we see, like, Iran's the bigger version of what Minneapolis could be. And you need to also really plan on a get home bag. Not just in case you get a flat tire on a beach 10 miles from your house. That's a get home scenario. But also there are other scenarios where blocked major arteries cause you to have to get out of your vehicle and walk your ass home. Whether it's highways, bridges, civil unrest, you have to abandon your vehicle. How are you going to get to the crib? The second thing you really need to think about, as protests can quickly dissolve into a bigger event, is logistics and supply chain being fragile. It falling apart quickly. The Minnesota factor shows you the power of the governor, of the government as a whole, when it comes to the federal government, to shut off things that you need logistically. Iran's a bigger picture of what the federal government could do if logistics were shut down and you needed stuff immediately. During local unrest, big box retailers sometimes board up their windows, shutter their doors, stop selling stuff. Pharmacies are the first ones to close and be locked because people like to break in and steal opiates and stuff like that. If you rely on a weekly grocery store run, you are vulnerable. If you're the type of person that, as I mentioned, tree hugging, just-in-time shopper, just-in-time meaning you keep stuff in your house that you eat basically immediately. You don't have like a deep pantry. If you're a just-in-time shopper, you need to think about storing food for at least, in my opinion, at least 3 to 6 months, having that type of deep pantry food. But if you don't believe in that, at least a week. Okay, just-in-time shopping's cool for your fresh meats and eggs and milk and all the other shit. But if logistics are very, very much in jeopardy, you need to start planning for that right now. 2026 could be the year where you actually start to re-examine your pantry and say, hey, you know, maybe preservatives aren't so bad. Maybe there's some things that we could take a look at and buy that we definitely want to get. That's the local governor or government in Minnesota that can shut that stuff down. I mean, they shut down schools in the area. Grocery stores can shut down on their own, their private businesses, et cetera, et cetera. The Iran factor shows you what it could be, where the stuff is shutting down because they have to. Sustained unrest or government imposed blackouts. Iran shows us what happens when the merchant class strikes, when the bazaars are hit. The supply of basic goods vanish. They go away quickly, instantly. So if you are in a state of getting stuff just in time, you should probably think about shifting away from that. Next is the communication blackout. Listen, right now in Minnesota, they got all the communication. Okay, internet's still working, cell phones are still cooking, you're still good to go. But the technology that governments have are crazy good. Okay, literal AC-130s can fly over a city and intercept radio signals, phone calls, whenever the hell they want. They can jam entire cities, which is what we did in Venezuela when we went in. We can stop communication very, very quickly. The reality is that the first move of a regime like Iran is cutting the internet, throttling back cellular data, controlling the message, preventing organization. This might be the time when you decide to buy yourself a Starlink, maybe get a very cheap plan, or just be prepared to have a plan, learn how to use radios. All those could be jammed as well. Maybe learn how to use signal communication. If you want to be very extreme, learn how to use Morse code, learn different ways to keep in touch with one another. Because right now, if you recording your stuff and loading it up to good old x.com could quickly be squashed. It can be shut down in a heartbeat. I mean, look at Iran. We are barely getting information out of there. State-run media is the only ones that are allowed to actually be in the streets, although plenty of people are violating that. And it can be mirrored here in the States very, very quickly. So this is the time for you to get hard maps of your local area. You don't need it of the entire state. You can get it for me. I have it of Dallas, Fort Worth, and of East Texas. Maybe you get it for the area that you live in. So Minnesota, the Twin Cities, I-35 area, et cetera, et cetera. Just having those hard maps and not relying on GPS is going to be crazy important, because satellites can be jammed, the signals can be blocked. You can't rely on your little Garmin inReach forever. So you've decided to look after your pantry. You've planned on the logistics. You're planning on comms. Now it's time for you to work on situational awareness. There are a lot of you people that are protesting correctly, but there's a difference from being trapped in the rubberneck effect. There's a rubberneck, you know, the guy that you're driving on the road and your 6 lanes of highway are completely clear, but you're backed up because everyone's rubbernecking and taking a look at what's going on behind them. Right now, that's what's happening in Minnesota. Many people got caught up in the crossfire of or legal net simply by being curious. You're in an area because you're curious. And the strategy is know the difference between gathering intelligence and becoming a target. Those are two distinctly different things. Before both No King's Day protest, I told you to pull up a map of the areas and don't go to those areas. And if you do, maybe have yourself a get home bag or some type of preparation just in case you find yourself there. If it doesn't involve your doorstep or your family, your job is to take a gray man approach. Maybe not try to be in that area. If you have to be in that area, you got to go to daycare, you got to go to work. Take the gray man approach, avoid the rubberneck. That's something you really need to think about. Iran is no longer really a rubberneck approach. That is full scale situational awareness, or you're deciding to participate. That's what's going on in Iran right now. Old folks are probably at the crib, not participating. But young folks in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s are in them streets. And at that point, I'm kind of done with information gathering if I lived in Iran, and I'm deciding I'm either getting out there and to participate because I don't like the government, or I'm staying my ass at the crib. That's the kind of decisions you need to make right now in some of the cities here in America. The occupying force. Could this happen in America? I don't know. Listen, I'll just be candid with you. If you're in the country illegally, you don't have the right to stay here. In my opinion, you just don't. Ultimately, I do think that you should get due process. And if through the judicial process it's determined that you have here because of asylum or because you're waiting judicial order or whatever, then so be it. But on the flip side of the coin, I'm not the biggest fan of seeing folks in sappy plates, fatigues, boots, like in the middle of streets in America. Like I'm torn in between the two of them. And a lot of folks are disconnected from it because a lot of the stuff is happening in democratic areas. Until it happens to you, you feel disconnected from it. I live in Texas. Okay. If and when that were happening here is probably a long time down the road. But the folks who are feeling it now have their opinions about it. So I'm kind of on both sides. I'm not going to get out there and get in their faces, but do I feel warm and fuzzy about it? Like if I had to go through a checkpoint, I would show my ID, but it just doesn't give me the warm and fuzzy. And so there's a shift that can happen. Recent events show us in Iran that when a population filled the state has become an occupying force rather than the guardian, violence becomes unpredictable. How many times have I said that the reason that we allow ourselves to be governed in now this is a representative, we're a republic, representative democracy. We allow ourselves to be governed so that they can protect us, because I personally can't arm myself enough to protect myself from Russia or Canada or any other country. My government does that for me. They also figure out how to spend my taxpayer dollars on things that would be best suited for the country or for me. In Iran, it's not exactly like that. I mean, obviously, it's not a representative democracy, but at a certain point, those people in Iran decided that they felt like the country was an occupying force versus governing them. So if you're in an area where you feel like it's on that line, home defense really matters. Your home security needs to account for not just the long burglar, which a lot of us think about, that one burglar that's breaking in and running off with your 55-inch TV. We all kind of plan for that. But the mob mentality or desperate groups, you might want to start thinking about, what are you going to do for that? So the long burglar, I probably could handle with pepper gel, pepper spray, a bat, fisticuffs. Mob mentality is probably going to be more suited for a lot of rounds downrange. So you have to think about, is that the next step that you want to do if you find yourself in those situations? Not necessarily just rounds downrange. You might want to get yourself like some noise deterrents. These are equivalent to a flashbang, but they're legal to have because they're flashlights. I have all sorts of those around the house. I have tons of pepper gel around the house. Let me show you another one of those. Pepper gel that can shoot up to 20 feet away from me is also around my house. Fire extinguishers and stuff like that as well. But I'm always thinking about, how can I handle the long burglar? But also, how can I handle if there was to increase, if it was to progressively get worse? You need to start thinking about that. Are you going to have light, noise, and physical barriers? That's what I think you should focus on. Light, noise, physical barriers, and whatever that means to you. If your house looks like a hard target, crowds are more likely to move past you. You're probably going to have less resistance. You're less likely to have an occupying force of degenerates inside of your crib. So protests in Minnesota, all the activity going on in Iran, you need to realize that over their issues can become right here issues very quickly, within hours. I mean, after the shooting of the woman in Minnesota, within 4 hours, protests all over the place. And you need to go from micro awareness, which is what's going on in the four walls of your house, to macro awareness as quickly as you can. If you got a prepper mindset, second A mindset, whatever, you really shouldn't just watch your local news. You should be watching your global news. Watch knuckleheads like me on YouTube, digest stuff in your newspapers. Just really try to inform yourself of what could blow up faster than you realize, because energy markets could be an indicator. Geopolitical shifts can be an indicator. There are a lot of early warning signs that your area could shift fast. And you should not ignore those or be ignorant to those. I talk to my family about that all the time, whether it's price hikes or civil unrest or whatever. Listen and think about all that type of stuff. Self-reliance, self-resistance is where you're at right now. And as people continue to microanalyze and they continue to look at this footage and determine what's right and wrong, don't miss the forest for the trees like I started this video off with. You really need to be vigilant and think about, what do you think specifically you need to do for yourself to prep? Now, comment down below, what specific pieces of gear do you want me to list, whether it's a get home bag or prepping for your house, or even a bug in situation or bug out bag if you want to make one of those. Do you want me to put on the channel? And I'll refresh some of that content for you as well. First time stopping by, hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.